How did you approach playing Mary Seacole?
Well, I went to the source. I went to her book. I have to admit, full disclosure, that I knew of Mary Seacole. I knew a little bit about Mary Seacole. Um, I was born and brought up in London, and so I have to admit that my knowledge extends to kind of what we were kind of like studying at school at the time. So it wasn't extensive. And, yeah, I read her book, and I have to say I was absolutely a bit mind blown. She was the most amazing woman. If you haven't read it, I really suggest you do. She gives her accounts in a very forthright way, shall I say, and it's hard to believe that this black woman in Victorian era was doing all the things she did. I mean, she was like crisscrossing parts of the globe, like, travel was easy.
Mm.
And it wasn't. And I think when I first heard about the travel, I just assumed she was in some sort of like great, fancy ship, a nice liner or whatever. But they weren't. Her travel sometimes was quite difficult. She did so many things that were very unusual for a woman at that time, and even more so for a black woman. She did it independently, and as I kind of alluded to in the segment we did earlier, she did kind of forge her own path. She didn't allow disappointment to stop her. When many people would just say, "Okay, that's the end of my journey. I've been told no a couple of times, and I'm not prepared to do any more." She just said, "What next?" And I kind of love that from her. So I read her book, and I'm gonna read it again because when I first read it, it was more in a way to kind of like get some additional facts for the way that I would kind of portray her when I did my workshops in schools. And I read it for fun, and now I read it with more of a research head on it. And also I've been in the role now, and children have asked me questions. I want to get deeper under the skin of the character. So I've read her own book, I think in her own words, as the first one that you should read.
Mhm.
And I've also now reading other publications, and I've just recently acquired the Helen Rappaport, the name? Yeah, Helen Rappaport book about Mary Seacole. And there are so many good things to read about her. And I also did a little bit of online research. Stared at her statue outside St Thomas's Hospital, which is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's great. It's a really great the way that they portrayed her there. So that's the sort of thing that I've done. Do you really need to know a bit more about her, the woman she was, the adversity she faced, her challenges, her successes, her philosophies. She was very witty. She was quite humorous, and I kind of love her take on life at the time. So yeah, that was my main prep for the role.
I think you really do the role justice in terms of bringing the full rounded character to life. So I guess you've kind of hinted at it. How did you manage to sort of find her character as well as her, the beats of her life,
Yeah.
like her, who she was or who you're going to portray her as?
So I love costume also, and whenever I'm preparing for a role, I feel there's a bit of costume that I always put on, and I think, okay, now I'm slipping in the character. Now I am the character of Mary. It's not to say that you couldn't play it without costume, but it is almost a kind of okay, you're not Janet now. You're actually for these people, for this audience, you are being Mary. I'm seacoling. So, so there is that, and also I knew that she needed to have her Caribbean accent. I wasn't going to do it in my own voice. I needed to do it in what I perceive her voice to be, of a soft Caribbean lilt. And I hope my mummy is proud of the way I'm portraying that. So they're the kind of ways that I prepared myself for that role. And and also, I suppose, she reminds me of my mum and my grandmother because they were pioneers as well. They left the Caribbean in the 50s and they came to the UK, and neither of them had traveled before. This was like the big journey, the big adventure, and they came here with like a grip,
Mhm.
a grip and some hopes and some dreams. And they came to this country and they too faced adversity. They too experienced the shock of being, you know, not welcomed in the fashion that they believed they should be or they would be. And so I look at those relevant moments in Mary's life and in their life, and I try to meld them all together. and come up with this character. So yeah, I have my own kind of like my own ancestry also is in the forefront of the way I prepare for the character.
I think it was a really useful portrayal. Like, I obviously, it resonated with me for exactly the same reasons. Obviously, thinking of my own grandmother coming from the West Indies to work in the health service, that caring and the sense of duty and those things that were mentioned,
Yeah.
the ideas behind it. So I was moved by it. What have been the challenges then? What's been difficult in portraying Mary?
So I've not found it particularly difficult to get into the role. As I say, I love playing Mary. I just think it's amazing. I love to be kind of the torchbearer. I like to be considered as a person that's really shining a light on her. And again, because as we know, she was forgotten for a long time,
Mm.
and her return to our thoughts and to re-educating a new generation about Mary. It's long overdue. So I'm just so grateful to be able to do that. I'm really honoured by that. I think the challenge is really is just that through the life she lived, you fast forward to 2026, and a lot of those challenges are still challenges we face today in terms of inequalities, whether that's racial inequality, gender inequality, social inequality. I just think we could have moved a bit further on in our stories. So those are the things I find challenging, but I think as long as we continue to breathe life into her story, let it reignite the way we live our lives, maybe we can help to change the narrative.
And I think we've talked about this already, but what would you say has been the biggest successes that you've had or most effective moments you've had, either for yourself or your audience, in portraying Mary Seacole?
Well, we were speaking earlier, and I was detailing some of the workshops that we do in schools, and I just think they are so valuable. And I just think it's just the best way to re-educate children. And I get the wonderful opportunity to go into schools and to do work at the Florence Nightingale Museum and really tell her story and really kind of grip their imaginations and their hearts and kind of really open a newfound curiosity for this amazing woman. So that's a success for me. I have some very deep and meaningful questions given to me by the children at the end of workshops. Some of them, that still kind of shock me. Um, and you can really tell that they are thinking deeply about her and her life. It's not just superficial. There's not just an actor in front of them portraying her. They're really thinking about the woman and what things might have been like for her at that time. And I hope they can kind of have some relevance with their own lives today. So that's I find is like one of my successes. And also I think for the unsung heroes, those quiet workers, those people that are kind of forgotten in their day to day, the people in our caring communities
Mm.
that are often overlooked. I really feel that we shine a light on them as well. You learn from the past and you should learn from the past and then change your futures. And I think by telling her story, you kind of see the common comparisons between, like you said, the Mary of the past and the
Mm.
health service today. So I really hope that in that we also help to shine a light on those, as I said, those unsung heroes, on their stories, on their journeys, and look at the great differences that they make to our lives and the amazing difference that Mary has made to medicine and to lives of those people today. So I get to be a part of that, and for me, that is success. I feel I'm winning every day when I'm playing her role. I love it.
And it's really, really always an engaging performance. I took my two sons to see you, and they've really both loved it. And one said, "Daddy, this should be a podcast." He's not normally spoiled. He doesn't normally get what he wants. But like, yeah, this is. One thing I wanted to ask is what something about your background, like what led you on this path? So, what are the skill sets or the bits of you that make you able to do this so well?
Okay, so I have done quite a few jobs in my time, a bit like Mary, I suppose. My background really is education. I worked in primary setting for a number of years. I worked for a diversity charity. I have always worked in the creative sector as well, and I do some acting. I really love storytelling. I really love taking people on a journey. I really love the ability to take people out of the now and kind of grab them and take them on a journey with me. I think it's a wonderful thing. And also my history, my interest is from the Caribbean. I come from a long line of people that actually tell stories. They tell stories so that the history is carried forward. They tell stories so that we don't forget the past. And I love being able to do that.
Janet, thank you so much. Again, thank you for being Mary, and thank you for talking to me just now.
Thank you.
Black in the City of London.